Our world runs on these massive systems we barely even think about. The internet, shipping containers, even the time on your watch. These things didn't just pop into existence. Someone had to invent them. And today, we're talking about a man who didn't just invent a system, he invented the very idea of getting the whole world to agree on one of the most basic parts of our lives, time itself. Okay, so to really get what he did, we've got to jump back to the 19th century, into a world where time wasn't this universal thing. Before we had all our clocks synced up, every single town and city lived by its own clock, its own local solar time. Basically, when the sun was at its highest point in the sky, that was noon. Sounds simple, right? And for centuries, it totally was.
But just try to wrap your head around this. Let's say you're trying to schedule a meeting, or more importantly, catch a train. When the clock strikes high noon in Montreal, it's only 11:48 a.m. in Kingston. And in Toronto, it's a full 25 minutes earlier, 11:35 a.m. Can you imagine the chaos? It sounds like an absolute nightmare.
And here's the crazy part. That wasn't some thought experiment. For most of human history, that was just reality. Time was this personal, local thing that was completely different from one town to the next. And for one particular man, this confusing mess was about to spark a revolution. So this is the guy, Sir Sandford Fleming. He was a Scottish-born Canadian engineer whose entire life, and frankly, all of our lives, changed forever when he missed a train in Ireland. And get this, it wasn't because he was late. It was because the schedule had a typo. It said PM instead of AM. That tiny little error exposed this massive, fundamental flaw in how the world worked, and it set Fleming on a mission to fix it before it brought the entire modern world to a grinding halt. And this whole local time problem, it was about to go from a quirky little annoyance to an absolute crisis. And it was all thanks to two new pieces of technology that were making the world feel a whole lot smaller: the railway and the telegraph. It's this wild paradox, right? Technology was supposed to be connecting the world, making it smaller and faster. But time was just ripping it all apart. Train schedules were a complete disaster. Trying to create them was a nightmare, and trying to read them was even worse. This wasn't just inconvenient, it was downright dangerous. So you've got this tug of war. On one side, you have local time. Super intuitive, simple, and it had worked perfectly for ages. But on the other, you've got this new beast called railway time, which was really just a tangled mess. Every single railway company had its own system. It was a recipe for confusion, missed connections, and yeah, even accidents. Fleming just saw how totally absurd this whole situation was. He basically said, if we keep this up, future generations are going to look back at us like we were barbarians who couldn't even manage to count right. He knew something had to give, and luckily for all of us, he had a plan. So what was Fleming's big idea? What was this revolutionary solution? Well, it was something so simple, so elegant, you'll wonder why nobody had managed to pull it off before. He called it standard time. The idea was brilliant in its simplicity. Just divide the entire planet into 24 time zones, one for each hour of the day. That's it. Instead of a zillion different local times, you just have 24. It meant giving up that hyper-local sun is highest in the sky time, but what you got in return was global coordination. A pretty good trade, right? Now, getting the whole world to agree on something this big, yeah, that wasn't exactly easy. Fleming first pitched the idea way back in 1876, and he became its biggest champion, crisscrossing the globe, talking to anyone who would listen. Scientists, politicians, you name it. But his hard work started to pay off. In 1883, the railways in North America gave it a shot, and boom, it worked like a charm. That success was the proof he needed. It led to this huge meeting, the International Meridian Conference, in 1884, and just a year later, the world's clock started ticking in sync. But here's the thing that'll really blow your mind. Inventing the system that literally runs every single clock, phone, and computer on the planet, for Fleming, that was just one piece of the puzzle. You see, he was obsessed with the very idea of connection itself. Yeah, for most people, inventing global time would be, their life's work. For Fleming, it was almost a side quest. His day job was even bigger. He was literally building the physical connections for the modern world. He just convinced everyone to agree on time, so why not apply that same idea of creating these unified, agreed-upon systems to, well, everything else? You've probably seen this famous photo, right? The last spike. Everyone focuses on the guy with the hammer, but look closer. See that tall guy in the top hat, the one with that incredible beard standing right behind him? That's Fleming. He was the chief engineer for the Canadian Pacific Railway. He wasn't just laying down tracks, he was forging a nation together with steel. It was a physical manifestation of agreement. And even his small projects were about the same thing, creating unity. Way back in 1851, he designed Canada's very first postage stamp. And instead of a king or queen, he put a beaver on it. A beaver. It was a symbol of hard work, of a shared national identity. It's just a tiny piece of paper, but it's another form of agreement, a symbol that everyone recognized and that could travel anywhere in the country. So after he connected a country with rails, he thought, why stop there? He then championed this insane project to connect the entire British Empire with information. It was a massive network of underwater telegraph cables called the All Red Line. Why that name? Because on maps of the empire, all the Commonwealth countries were colored red, and the cables only ran through them. This was like the Victorian-era internet, a global information superhighway, all built on this idea of a shared, agreed-upon network. So when you step back and look at it, railways, stamps, telegraphs, and, oh yeah, time itself, Fleming's life work was creating these foundational systems, the stuff that's so crucial to our world that it's become completely invisible. And that really gets us to the heart of it all, the most important takeaway. Sandford Fleming's real genius wasn't just being a great engineer. He didn't invent the concept of time, and he didn't invent the locomotive. What he invented was agreement. He had this incredible knack for seeing a chaotic system and the persistence to get the entire world to agree on a better way, a shared way that lets everything else work. So think about it. The next time you glance at your phone to sync up for a video call with someone on the other side of the planet, take a second to remember Sir Sandford Fleming, the guy who missed a train and decided to fix time for everybody. It really makes you think, our world isn't just built on clever inventions, it's built on our ability to agree with each other. And that leaves us with a pretty big question. What's the next great agreement our world needs to make?